I was dancing with our song. Hello, my beautiful ladies and gentlemen. How are you feeling? Oh, I am over the moon. I'm so happy. I've got my beautiful guest is here. It is the day before the long weekend in most of the countries in the world, and Sunday is one of my most. This weekend is one of my most beautiful weekends of all because it's Easter. We have so many thanks to so many things in our lives, and for me particularly, I am truly blessed that God is in my life and that everything that happened was because He loves us. So I'm truly excited for this weekend. We are coming live on the Diamond Beauties Forever group, ladies group. I was so excited today. We officially I had a party by myself because we were 777 ladies in the group. So I was so excited to see 777 for today. And then my beautiful Tanzanite heroes, the male group in our community, they also we are coming live on that group as well. So I'm truly excited to tell you a little bit what means harmony in dialogue. So communication is so important. But I always, because I was writing something for my book front cover, and somebody said to me the other day, Sanet, you are a goddess of self-love and mindfulness. And when I was thinking of communication, what I'm going to say before we start our session, I was thinking self love and mindfulness is really big on my agenda and it have changed my life forever. So just not looking just at the communication to others, but how is your communication to you? And harmony, oh, everybody wants harmony. So harmony against other people, but then also harmony in your own life. How do you talk to yourself? I know that's deep. I know that's deep. So before we start, are you ready to take 3 deep breaths with me? And then we will start off with my sponsors video, Jose Escapar. And then I will have my guest in the studio. Are you ready? Here we go. You can take an in breath, exhale, another one in, exhale, last one in, exhale. Beautiful. I spoke to somebody in Australia today, and he's a breath worker, and we talk about it now. So I just want to remind you, if you really want to be in the present moment, just concentrate on your breathing because your breathing will help you to be in the present moment. So here is the video of my sponsor.
Is Jose Escobar. I live in Washington, D.C. area. I'm a family man. I'm an entrepreneur, coach, author, and speaker. I have communities. I support people. I'm a servant leader, and the list goes on. And I'm primarily the CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. That's my bread and butter. That's my core offer, right? That's where I put most of my time and energy. And the Connected Leaders Academy is a growing community. It's a tribe of some of the highest level entrepreneurs from all over the world. We're now over 350 plus members, 42 states across the US, and 17 international countries. If you're an entrepreneur out there that's looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more money, more clients, right? This is the community for you.
Huh? There the sound went. Okay, I don't know what happened. I hear click. And then the sound was gone. Okay, okay. My beautiful guest is in the house, in the house. And my beautiful ladies and gentlemen, you will see in my show notes as well as in my artwork that I've done all the advertising. There were three guests, but one guest could not make it. She's still in traffic. She's in Germany, and she cannot get home in time for the show. But we are all over the world because Patricia is in spirit with us on the show. She's in Germany. Beautiful Dar Geiger, she's all the way from the USA. Beautiful David is from Scotland, and I am in South Africa. I'm the only one that's going into the winter season, and you are all going into summer. So, oh yes, I'm gonna ask my beautiful guest to introduce. If you can introduce yourself and tell us what communication means for you.
All right. My name is Dara Geiger, author, joyologist, and I wrote my biography called Reignite Your Joy, Let God Lead Your Dance Through Life. And I love the Lord. I love people, and I have been assigned to be a joy giver to others when I was on the radiation table being treated for cancer. And the Lord told me He wanted me to be His joy giver. And I said, wow, that's awesome. I'm honored. Thank you, Lord. And so that was over 10 years ago. At any rate, I've always been a lover of people and wanting to work hard at listening, not be so much a talker, because I do love to talk. We might have something in common among the three of us where we love to communicate. We're connectors. We're inspirational people and want to empower other people. That's what I love to do, and connect. Connection is really important for me. It's my love language. And so, at any rate, communication to me means a lot of things, but it definitely for me is a volley back and forth of listening and receiving, asking questions. For me, I love to ask questions and listen to hear about a person so I can understand who they are, where they're coming from. And there's many other things about it as well. There's just many other components to communication where you're interacting and playing, where you're having fun, where you're working together, where you're being spiritual. So at the present moment, communication for me is very important. So I'm grateful for technology and the ability to do these programs on Zoom with people all over the world. It's such an honor to meet David from Scotland. I love your accent. I bet I have an accent to you as well. And I love to laugh. At any rate, when we all get to laughing together and communicating together, it just brings me lots of energy and lots of joy. So I didn't know how much you wanted me to tell, Sanet, but that's probably good.
Thank you. Thank you, my beautiful Dar. You are amazing, and I truly love you with all my heart. My beautiful David, please introduce yourself and also tell us what communication means for you.
Yeah, sure. I help aspiring speakers find their voice, tell their story, and share their message on camera and on stage as well. And for me, communication is two things: change and legacy. You can change the present with good communication, and you also leave a legacy for the future with good communication. And that's a privilege that we have, and it's also a responsibility we should take seriously.
I love it. Okay, let me just quickly take one of my the things that's here in. I've got like this. But I would quickly want to read something because you just trigger me something with something. And I don't know. If I get triggered, Dar knows me. I do. If I get a message, say it, I say it, I do. So it means your voice. Connecting your heart to your voice, there is power there. Let it resonate. Let it live. Because it has life, your words matter. and they will serve its purpose. Speak life with love. Oh, isn't that beautiful? So, my beautiful Adore, I'm coming back to you and then to David, and then I would love to read Patricia's bio. So let me first come back to you, my beautiful Dor. You have written your book, yeah, and I met you on Speak Live, and one of the things that came to my mind is how easy it was to become your friend because your communication skills was like so amazing, and like you said, your listening skills is so amazing. And my husband told me today, Sanet, try and use other words than amazing. So now I'm stuck on amazing because that's what I normally use. Um, he's not in my head, but what I wanted to say is, were you always as easy listening and communicative as you are, or is it something that you have learned, a skill that you have learned through the years? Oh, Dor, just give me 1 second. You were muted. Now you unmuted.
I'm sorry. It's a great question. I was not always a good listener. I was pretty much self-centered, I would say, for a long time. And then I started really praying to become a good listener. A woman in a Bible study had said, we asked her, what do you have to say? You haven't said anything. Would you like to contribute to the group? And she says, I'm just being blessed by listening. And that just resonated with me. Communication for me also is, relationships are not important. They're everything. And it takes effort. It takes a selfless attitude to really communicate well. So of course, over time, Sunit, I had to learn how to put myself in the background and put the other person in front and give them the floor. I learned that with my husband. We made boundaries when we wanted to connect with one another on our date night, that each one would have the floor and we couldn't interrupt. So, yeah, it's definitely been a learned process.
Wow. Thank you, my beautiful Dor. So, David, as well on your side, were you always interested on helping people to speak, or is it something that there's something have happened that made you decision to say, this is my jam, this is my purpose in life?
I think everyone will say no to that answer. Like, has it always been your mission and purpose? I think it's always something that's thrust upon you rather than something that you choose. Mm. So I'm a naturally extroverted person, but when I was young, my parents got divorced when I was still 4 years old. And that was something that was really difficult for me to process and come to terms with. And so I went into my shell a lot as a child, and I was quite sensitive, and I'd withdraw. Although my natural tendency was to want to be around people and to want to be expressing myself, sort of I'll use the word trauma. I don't want to be hyperbolic here, but the small t trauma of that kind of made me go into my shell a little bit more. And as an adult, it was only sort of coming to terms and realizing that, this is actually more of who I really want to be. And I want to express myself a lot more. And I just felt that little urge and seed to go out there and be more expressive and say something of value. And there wasn't necessarily one particular day or one particular moment where that came, but it built and built and built. What I would say is the turning point of where I made that decision, I started to take it seriously. At the end of my time in university, my dad got a terminal cancer diagnosis. He died a month after I graduated, and I actually got to be there with my dad at the end and sit with him on his deathbed and have a final conversation with him. And that really just showed me the thin line between life and death. We only have a limited amount of time on this world, however long that is, whether you die naturally or whether it's taken away from you. And that scared I don't want to swear, scared the life out of me, shall we say. And I went okay, I want to make the most of my time that I have here, whatever that is. I want to do something that has an impact and changes people's lives in some way. Very young and idealistic, but it's okay to be young and idealistic. I think we lose too much of that idealism as we get older. So I started looking at, okay, what's the way that I do this? And that's when I started to come across watching TED Talks and seeing speakers and watching the great leaders of the past and realizing, oh, they were all actually pretty good speakers. And that's what helped them to create the change and have their position of leadership. So I said, okay, that's what I need to do if I want to leave some kind of mark on this world. And that's how I eventually got into the path of public speaking.
So my beautiful daughter, that's so amazing. I don't know if you've got any feedback for David on that. That's so deep. That's beautiful, David.
Yeah, I love the way you expressed it in a story that I could follow and understand.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved it. Thank you so much, my beautiful David. So I'm quickly going to read Patricia's bio just to honor her because she could not make to come to the show today. So Patricia Littner is a global, magnificent coach and success architect whose extraordinary insight and intuition abilities have made a profound impact on the lives of countless individuals. She's got 17 years of experience in teaching and training. Patricia possesses a unique blend of practical wisdom and physical intuition, guiding a guided, heart-centered profession towards success, abundance, fulfillment in every area of their lives. I just quickly want to let you know, what is she's got a very long bio, but she's also magnificent. She's the lady that we call in one of the groups Lady Magnificent. She's got this beautiful peacock feathers at the back painting of her, and when she is in that with the peacock feathers, it's truly amazing. I just wanted to, whether through the Influence podcast Magnificence, so she's got her own podcast, Magnificence, where she hears remarkable stories. And then I just need to read you her golden nugget. So I'm going to ask everyone at the end for your golden nugget. So I'm just going to read Patricia's golden nugget. There is magnificence in everyone, and your sole purpose is to bring this magnificence forth, to serve others and make an impact on the world. I love that. So thank you, my beautiful Patricia, for giving us your heart. And I have had 2 coffee chats with you already. You are amazing. And you have come to our special event last month with Dar. And then you also did a summit, or the summit, and then also a Christmas, a New Year. You came also to inspire us. So good luck, and I hope that you are safely at home. So thank you so much, my beautiful Patricia. So, my beautiful Dor, if I can come back to you, you are serving the world, my beautiful one. Can you tell the viewers out there what you do to inspire so many people around the world?
There are some very intricate components for me, and it has everything to do with my relationship with God and learning about Him through His Word, through Scripture, prayer, trusting Him one day at a time, and learning to laugh at myself and laugh and inspire laughter and joy in others. And then also gratitude is so important. There's treasures. There's so many treasures when you begin to just take a look at yourself and look, wow, look at these 10 fingers that I've been blessed with. I mean, there's just so many things to be grateful for, and the sun shining. At any rate, it lifts my spirit. And so I have that natural instinct or desire, intuition to want to inspire others and lift them up. So it is a spiritual gift. It's known as exhortation. So it's exhorting other people So God has given me also, David, the same thing. I'm an extrovert, and I think over time I've become more of an ambivert, which my grandson informed me means that I love my time alone in my home. It's special spiritual time, or playing or dancing, whatever I'm doing, that I'm enjoying myself. But I love being with people and get so energized by people. So yes, so that's a little bit.
And may I also just ask if you may can add the amazing stories or the amazing upliftment you are doing, especially under through for women.
I'm sorry, I did not understand the question about that.
Yeah, so you are doing quite a lot into with women. You're doing Bible studies and you're doing events with women for women. So can you
Yes.
just tell us about that as well, please, Dar?
Yeah, I just have been given the gift of love for women. I've always loved and appreciated my mother, my grandmothers, my aunts, and I've just had a love for women. And I think a great deal of this came through my struggles and growing and maturing as a woman and as a wife. And the need for a mentor. I didn't have one when I felt that I really could have used one, although the Lord revealed to me that He's been watching over me all along. And provided resources for me over time. But then I got the desire myself from my heart, from the Lord, to want to mentor women. So, and I love to mentor couples. When I was married, we mentored couples, my husband and I. And so it was all about helping people with healthy relationships, because relationships are everything for us. God wants a relationship with us, and He wants us to have a relationship, healthy relationships, and enjoyable ones with others. So yeah, there you go.
Love it. I'm going to circle to David, and when I come back, will you give us some tips that you and your husband have given for couples to make sure that their relationship is open and going? Because sometimes it's open, but it's not going anywhere. So I will circle back to you. So, my beautiful David, in your bio, you have 4 number 1 Amazon best-selling books. And then you also, it says 7 times national public speaking champion. Please, can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Starting off with the books, that is more of my first love. And this touches upon what I was talking about earlier with becoming a bit more of that kind of withdrawn child. I was always losing myself in a book. I was reading before I could even properly speak, and now you can't shut me up. So I was always reading books. I'd often play by myself because I didn't necessarily get on with the other kids so well, or more accurately, they didn't necessarily get on with me. And so I was always just losing myself in fantasy worlds and stories. And you know when you get asked at school when you're really young what you want to be when you grow up? And when you're 5 or 6, you don't know what real jobs are. No 5-year-old or 6-year-old says, yeah, I want to be a project manager. I want to be a patent lawyer. I want to work on Wall Street. Like nobody ever says that. They don't talk about real jobs. Kids always say, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a cowboy. I want to be a princess. They might say something like a firefighter or a train driver, but it's always the fantastical and the adventurous. I was the weird, nerdy kid in the corner who said, I want to be an author. I want to write books. Because I love books so much. And I thought, well, when I grow up, I want to be involved in books. And I knew that was like a thing that you could do because I was reading books. So I was like, okay, well, I want to write the books that other people will read. And it was something I dabbled with here and there as I was growing up. But to be honest, I just kind of got distracted by trying to be cool and trying to make friends and going out partying and trying to look good. And I didn't really focus on my craft of writing. I had a teacher in high school who really sort of saw the potential in me, but saw that I wasn't taking it seriously. And she just gave me like a kick up the backside and challenged me and pushed me, David, if you want to be a writer, you've got to start working on it. So I did. Whilst I was at university, I wrote my first couple books. They were fiction books at the time. And this is where sort of like luck meets opportunity. around about this time, Amazon self-publishing was really growing and getting big. So this was the first time that in history that you could be an author and just say, I want to write a book. I've finished it. Here it is. You can read it. So I was very lucky to be in this particular time, in this particular generation. So I self-published my first couple of fiction books. Friends and family read them. No one else did. That's all right. They got me in the game. When after my dad died, I wrote my third book, which was a autobiography disguised as a self-help book, or maybe the other way around, a self-help book disguised as the autobiography. And it was called The Last 60 Minutes, and it was about those last 60 minutes that I spent with my dad, the final conversation, kind of what I learned and realized about life. And that ended up hitting #1 on Amazon in the death and grief category. I started getting invited to share the story on stages and talk about the story and talk about the lessons. And that also catapulted my public speaking career as well as my writing career. So that's always the book that's really kind of close and dear to my heart. I've written and published 3 books since then. I did sort of an unofficial sequel to The Last 60 Minutes called Author Your Life, all about some of the psychological principles and processes of how you make change in your life. My degree was in psychology, so a lot of that fed in. My 2 most recent ones have been on public speaking. So you've got Rise and Inspire, which is about how you start your career and path as a professional speaker. And then the last one, the most recent one, has been the Virtual Speakers Revolution. Over these last couple of years, we had this big shift to virtual. Look at what we're doing right now. So it's all about learning how to not just navigate that process, but also really enjoy and maximize the opportunity that comes from that. So that's my books. I'm aware I've been talking for a long time. I'm happy to talk about the National Public Speaking Championships as well, or I'm happy to shift over to Dar and she can tag in.
I think what you can do, you can tell us about the national speaking championships that you have won, and then we will go to Dar, because I really want to know. Yes, I really want to know. Dar, you want to know?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. I gave you a chance to shut me up and you didn't, so let's keep going. Yes, I've been a member of Toastmasters International since 2016. For those in the audience who aren't aware, it's a worldwide non-profit and it's all about helping people build their public speaking skills. And what I didn't realize when I first joined, but I've learned later now, is there's also competitive speaking in Toastmasters. So there's speaking competitions. There's lots of different categories of competitions. There's improv speaking. There's humorous speaking. The big one is the International Speech Contest. And that actually goes all the way to a world final, and a world champion of public speaking gets selected. Well, not selected. They win. They win every year. So I've competed in all of these different contests, and I've won the Scottish title in all of those contests 7 times. So I've won 7 different contests at the national level. And I'm also wanting to compete internationally as well and get that World Championship of Public Speaking one day.
Wow. Congratulations, David. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for telling us about that. So before I go to Dar, my beautiful David, I also decided in April 2021 I want to become a public speaker, because everybody told me my story was incredible, Sanet. So I put it on paper. I want to be an inspirational public speaker. Not even 2 weeks later, I got on Facebook a message from this person, Marty Dickinson. That's where I met Dar.
I've met Marty. Only virtually, but I've met him, yeah.
And were you also in the Speaker Speak Live with him already?
No, I'm aware he runs something. I've only spoken to him tangentially, but okay. I've
so you know from who we're talking about. And I saw this advertisement on Facebook. I messaged him. I said, I am in South Africa. Can I also join? And he said yes. So I joined the first day of our show, his speaking show, if I can call it like that. And that is where I met beautiful door. And I was there. That's where my speaking came from. And one of the things I've realized soon in my journey of I had a working career. I was retrenched in 2022, in December 2020. So I have a career in working all my life, and then I have this my purposeful career, if I can call it like that. And I know that if you put it out there, it happens. And then 2 weeks later, I joined the first session. I met beautiful Dar, and I never looked back. So I just wanted to tell the gentlemen and the ladies out there. So if you ever want to do anything, but in my particular case, I wanted to be a public speaker, put it out there, because the universe, God, will always help you get the things that you really want. And now you even can follow David. You can connect with David if you think he can help you. If you think Dar, if all her inspiration can help you, all in my show notes, you are welcome to follow my guest as well as Patricia. So, my beautiful Dar, if I can come to you, can you give us some tips for marriage couples on communication?
Yes, we had Chuck and I, my soulmate, we met in seventh grade and married I was 19 and he was 20. We were just kids, had two beautiful children, a son and a daughter. I call it the millionaire's family. And when we became Christians, our marriage really got rock solid. And we did a lot of work because we had a lot of problems due to addictions. And so we had to work on ourselves and get ourselves right first and become a responsible, accountable adult. And then we worked on our marriage. And one of the books that was the most impactful for us in America here was called Love and Respect by Dr. Egerich. And it just opened up a whole new picture of God's design for men and women and how he created women to hear with pink hearing aids and see with pink glasses. And he created men to hear with blue hearing aids and see through blue glasses. We are not the same. We are so opposite and so beautifully created. But we read the book together, and biblically, women need to feel that they're loved. Biblically, men need to feel that they're respected and honored. And when the two can do that for each other to complete one another, it can be an amazing relationship. And I was blessed with a wonderful last 15 years of our marriage. For it to be that way, we both became believers in Christ, and our love just was amazing those last years. Through this book, though, and I recommend it to so many people, we learned how to give each other the floor to say how we feel, to say what our concerns are, those kinds of things, and to listen. And if we wanted an answer or a solution, we could say so. So speaking our hearts and having the floor to be able to express was so important. And those were boundaries that we had to learn over our years of recovery, and respecting and honoring one another and giving each other a chance to speak what we think, how we feel, share our hopes and our dreams and those sort of things. And so communication was immense, absolute, so necessary. And we learned to hold hands together when we would pray. We learned to pray together, and it didn't come about for a long time. I waited and prayed until my husband was ready, and then we found a devotional book that taught us how to do that together, very non-threatening, in a very non-threatening way. We learned how to pray together, and that's when our relationship really became solid. For me, the scripture in Ecclesiastes 4, verse 12 says that a twine of three cannot be easily broken, and that three is the husband, the wife, and then God holding them together as the glue. And so having God in your marriage is extremely important. But communication, once again, like we're talking about today, is so necessary. How can you know what's going on in your spouse's heart if you're not hearing it, if he or she isn't free to talk about it and then to problem solve, right? And all problems can't be solved. We know that. I mean, we have to give up a lot of it to trust God to help us solve over time. So, so the communication and the praying together, I think, is very important. And recreational, having fun together, finding your recreation. And Chuck and I found biking. We were biker buddies for 7 years. Oh my gosh, we had so much fun biking for pie. We went biking with other friends and stayed at an Airbnb, and we just had a lot of fun with our biking. Almost every single weekend we would go and have wonderful time together, and picnics and by the lake and that kind of thing. So we found our recreation, which was delightful. We also were serving together. So we had a ministry called Celebrate Recovery, which was a Christian 12-step program, because both of us were in the 12-step program of recovery. So we shared that. But we also had our independence. And so interdependence is so important, to acknowledge each of you have your own thoughts, your own likes, your own dislikes, your friends, your interests separately. Then you come together and you have the things together that you share. So maybe it sounds idealistic, but that's what happened for us. But we did a lot of work on self-care and self-improvement, and then together as a couple. So there's lots of resources available.
I love it. So, my beautiful daughter, I will just give you an example what happened. I went to this amazing session, and the person said, "Okay, you must get a wooden spoon for your to make sure that, because I'm the one that interrupts, and my husband is the one that will listen, and then he will give me advice or say something, and then I interrupt him as well, and sometimes I try to complete his sentences." So I went in 2006. I was on this amazing session, and they told us we must pass over the wooden spoon. So when I have the wooden spoon, I'm not allowed to speak. So my husband hear this thing, and he thought, okay, maybe this is a good idea, because maybe if I've got a wooden spoon, then he can get a word in. My mom's always says, Sanet, your husband thinks further than you because you are too. So I was holding on to the spoon, and the end, but David and Dor, I got so frustrated. I started to go in, where the inside of the spoon is. I started to go like this so that he can complete it. I can say myself, I didn't hear any word he said. Like I was like squeezing the spoon so that he could finish. So that didn't work. But the last 5 years, it was like the last 5 years, I've changed my life, and I want to give him the time of day. So the first thing I do, if he starts to speak, I put my tongue against my palate. And if you put your tongue against your palate, you cannot speak. So I must just say the last 5 years that I have done that, it automatically goes. So it's, if I know my husband wants to start talking, I can, he's like fidgeting, if I can call it like that, then I know he gets ready to tell me, and then I know, Sanet, here comes that tongue, and you hold that tongue until he's finished, and I'm listening. So yes, the wooden spoon didn't work, but the tongue against the palate, definitely that works. But
Try
thank you so
biting
much.
down on the wooden spoon.
Oh,
That'll stop you speaking as well.
no, I cannot do that. Yeah. My beautiful David, do you have a few tips for us on communication, please?
Yes. Communication is about understanding the other person and what drives them and what motivates them. And this is true privately and publicly. So when you're having conversations with your spouse, as the two of you have been talking with, it's actually exactly the same as when you're speaking in front of thousands of people. It's all about understanding where the other person is. And from that understanding going, okay, if we're on two separate islands right now, what builds the bridge that connects us? And depending on how much difference there is, the further the islands are away, the more bridge that needs to be built. So if you have an understanding of where that person is and making sure that your islands, to stretch this metaphor, making sure your islands aren't drifting further away, because the further away your islands get, it's so much harder to bridge the gap later on when you're trying to make sure your islands are staying close together. But I think what Dar said or mentioned something that's really good. Your islands shouldn't be one island. You should both have your separate islands. You should have your independence and your interdependence. You, me, we. You've got to be happy as individuals and you've got to be happy as the collective. So keeping those islands close, having your independence, but not being so independent that you don't have a relationship anymore.
Wow, I love it. Thank you, my beautiful David. So, my beautiful David, may I ask you this question? You can see now I need to make sure I get my wording right. So, I was thinking in my home language, Afrikaans, to ask you, but now I have to translate. So, here we go. So, you know that public speaking is the most, the thing that people fear the most. They say everywhere they say this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So what is the advice that you will give a person? I can tell you what I have heard, but I will tell you, I've heard people say to the people, if you stand in front of the people, just think they are naked. So I don't think that will work for me because I will laugh so much.
I don't know where it comes from. I think that's terrible advice. I don't know where that comes from.
I agree.
So there's two parts to this. I think the first part, and I think what sometimes is an obstacle around this for people, there's this myth or idea that you lose the fear of public speaking. You never lose the fear of public speaking. And the analogy that I use is firefighters running into a burning building. Doesn't matter how often they've done it. Doesn't matter how good their training is, how good their equipment is. It doesn't matter about any of that. When there's a fire and they've got to run in, they're scared. And they'll be stupid not to be scared. Of course they're going to be scared. But they run in every time. Why do they run in every time? Well, there's two components. Number one, we've already talked about, is the training. They do it again and again. So they go, okay, I know exactly what I'm going to do and what I'm supposed to do when I get there. But the other part that I think is a little bit more important, it's about your motivation and your focus. The firefighter has no self-interest in running into that building. There is no advantage for them personally at all. But what is there in that burning building? Other people who need to be rescued. And this is where courage comes from. And I think the idea of losing your fear in speaking, it's a myth that holds people back. What instead you want them to be able to develop is the courage to do it again and again, to stand up on stage, even when you feel insecure, even when you feel nervous, even when you doubt yourself. When you look at all the great speakers of history and you read some of their autobiographies and thoughts and things, they all didn't think they were good enough. Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, like, it doesn't matter. All of them didn't think they were good enough, but they still stood up and did it anyway because they had a cause and a mission greater than themselves, where they go, okay, this is about more than just me. And so when it comes to facing your fears in public speaking, it's about, number one, training yourself. The more you do it, you just get used to how it feels. The feeling doesn't go away, but you just get used to it. And then what's your motivation? What is that cause greater than yourself that is making you stand up on stage? If you're standing up on stage just because you want to promote yourself, talk about your books, whatever it is, like, all of that stuff's okay. But what's really going to drive you beyond that? And if you tap into that, that will get you up on stage again and again, even when you're feeling insecure, even when you're doubting yourself, because you know there's something bigger than you that you need to be speaking about.
Wow. David, you just brought my glasses out because I was goosebumps
Yeah.
all the way to the back. So thank you for that. That makes actually so beautiful because you are standing on stage not because what you went through, but not because of you. You are standing
Mm.
on stage, if that is your biggest why, is to inspire others. And a lot of people ask me, Sanet, why are you doing all this stuff? Because my why is so big. I want
Mhm.
to inspire so many. I call myself the voice of a million. I want to have a million people telling their stories through the TV shows, the summits, the magazine. And yes, that's my drive. That will I will make sure to do my best every day. I love it. Thank you very much, my beautiful David. So I'm gonna ask you both, what is your forever song? And then I'm going to both ask you what's your golden nugget. So, Dor, I'm going to start with you. Please tell us, what is your forever song?
It's called Glad I've Got Jesus. And it's a gospel song, and it makes me want to dance. It makes us want to dance. We've danced together to it. And the nugget that I'd like to leave that is part of communication is seek first to understand, then to be understood.
Love it. So, David, what do you think about Dor's golden nugget?
Yeah, that's Stephen Covey, isn't it? Seven Habits Highly Effective. I don't know if he got it from somewhere else, but that's where I remember reading it. And actually, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People is one of the first self-help books that I read, and it's still, I've read lots on top of that, and it's still something I go back to is, oh wow, the principles in here are actually really good because I've seen all the other principles that are out there, and there's still a lot of that really kind of sticks and holds true. And he wrote that book before I was born,
Also,
and it still holds true.
David, it's also from the St. Francis prayer.
Okay, so he
Seek
did get it
first
from
to
somewhere
love and
else.
to be loved. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, there's two sources right now that we know of. So that's good to know. I didn't know it was Stephen Covey's.
Wow, amazing. So, my beautiful David, can you remember what song we dance on?
Yeah, so we danced to I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, I think. Wakampi.
Yeah,
By
welcome. Yes, yes.
yeah, by Prida. So he's a kind of electronic house dance DJ. And the reason that I chose it is because there's African tribal music in it. And speaking to you being in Africa, it made me think of that song, and just kind of that general vibe of that type of music is something that's been ever present for me in my adult life. And that one stood out to me just because that little bit of connection with you, Sanet.
Oh, that's amazing. And I remember hearing in the drums, me and David were dancing on the drums. I normally can make the song a little bit shorter, but we actually danced your whole song out because it was so beautiful.
Yeah, it's like 7 minutes long. Yeah.
What fun.
Oh, wow. And David, can you please tell us what is your golden nugget? I love that you said something about um, now I just Arthur
I can't
King.
remember what I said either. I know you asked me for the nugget.
Okay, but let me tell you, what you gave me. So let me just quickly bring it up. I'm just also know with it. Martin Luther King got 2 C's for public speaking in
Oh,
high school.
yes. Yeah.
So your golden nugget is where you are now is not an indication of where you end up. That's what your golden nugget was.
Exactly. So don't let what has been defined for you or imprinted upon you in the past affect what you do in the future. If Martin Luther King went, oh, I wasn't very good at public speaking in high school, maybe I shouldn't be the ambassador for civil rights. we wouldn't have civil rights, or they would have taken a lot longer. We wouldn't have I Have a Dream, the best speech of the century. If he'd held himself back, if he'd let his doubts and fears and insecurities about his speaking, which, by the way, he had for his whole life. When he walked off the stage in Washington, D.C. after I Have a Dream, he was like, I don't know if that had the effect that I wanted it to. So he always had those doubts, but that didn't stop him from doing what he thought was right and focusing on the mission and not himself. So if he got C's in public speaking and he managed to do all right, the rest of us can do all right as well.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, my beautiful David. So, my beautiful ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you have enjoyed my amazing guest. Somebody asked me, what is your forever song? A forever song is a song that makes you happy when you listen to it. And your forever song can be so important for you. You might play it every day for the rest of your life. So mine in May, my song Walking on Sunshine, I will be playing 5 years without every day, because it brings me to my essence. And at end of the night, when I in bed, not with the hat, people, another gentleman asked me, "Do you go to bed with your hat?" No, no. But when I'm in bed, the last question I will ask, Sanet, did you leave your sparkle in somebody's heart and memory for the day? In summer, I will do a tick, and winter, when it's cold, I will do a tick with my hate. So yes, my forever song is Walking on Sunshine. So while talking about dancing, my beautiful Dar, my beautiful David, will you have a dance with me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes. My beautiful guests, I'm sorry, my beautiful viewers, will you have a dance with us? They said yes. They said yes. David, you are so,
Hey!
David, you are so good. Here we go.
Walking on sunshine or dancing in the rain. Sprinkle me with fairy dust so I can fly away. Smiling at a moonbeam or squinting in the sun. Sprinkle me with fairy dust and cover me with love.
Butterfly, butterfly.